Travis Reier and Charlie Potter, the BamaOnline.com staff, getting our legs back under us, Charlie, after the trip back from the Valley of the Sun, Phoenix, Arizona. Glendale specifically, where the Alabama Crimson Tide captured its 16th national title with a 45-40 win over the Clemson Tigers on Monday night. And wasn't like some of the previous appearances in that game, Charlie, or a championship game at least. Alabama really had to work for this one.
Yeah, I mean, Clemson, I said all along, was the most complete team on Alabama's schedule, and they proved that. And Deshaun Watson, for what it's worth, had a great game. He gave Alabama's defense, which has been pretty stout in stopping mobile quarterbacks all season, everything it can handle and then some. But they were able to hold strong, and the offense really was able to make enough plays, and special teams too, to pull out a win.
With 21 points and struggling going into that fourth quarter offensively, if you would have told me Alabama would score 24 in the final 15 minutes, there's no way I would have believed you. But you're right. The big completion to Ardarius Stewart seemed to right the ship a little bit offensively. And then the kicking game, obviously, the difference in the game with the onside kick call by Saban, Drake's 95-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. You're right. When you talk about a complete performance, it was Alabama more so than Clemson, and that's why they won the game. Now, not much time to celebrate because the NFL draft, for the early entry deadline for underclassmen at least, beckons. And just a few minutes ago, heard from a couple of those guys, and no real surprise in that A'Shawn Robinson and Derrick Henry make their intentions known to move on to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, for Derrick Henry, what else can you do? I mean, you had the most productive season of any running back in program history, in conference history, really. And you go out with a national championship. I think there was no shot really of him coming back, even though he seems like a guy that puts the team first. It's just you can't turn down that position as a running back, especially with the shelf life they have in the league. And then A'Shawn, we talked about before, it seems like a guy that is like Henry too, puts the team first, but with where he's been projected, you can't pass that up too. So both of those guys definitely not a surprise. I think the big thing that I was shocked at was that there was only two guys that joined Saban on stage, in Henry and Robinson. I thought we could see maybe one or two more, but when they came out, a bit of a shock.
Yeah, that was interesting to see the three seats, and you figured one was for Saban, but a couple other underclassmen that we didn't hear from today. Who knows if we may hear from them in the next couple of days, because remember, the deadline isn't until Monday, the 18th. So still time to make those decisions here in the next few days. So specifically Jonathan Allen, O.J. Howard. You talk about the iron being hot right now for O.J. coming off the game he had. But, a lot of the mocks, a lot of the services out there, outlets, we see Jonathan Allen listed as a first-round guy too. So if that's the extent of it, what we saw today, Alabama has to be through the moon.
Oh yeah, they have to be thrilled with the guys, especially if they come back. I think it was Mel Kiper Jr. who's pretty much head and shoulders above a lot of other people in terms of mock drafts. Had Allen going number 19 to the Buffalo Bills, and you've seen him pretty much consistently been a first round projected player. And I was a bit shocked that he didn't come out there and just say he was going pro. But I think we talked about before this video started that if you were going to pinpoint two guys that put the team first, or just seemed like the guys that would come back, it would be O.J. and Jonathan. Even though Jonathan for the consistency of the season and O.J. of late were two of the hottest players in the team.
No doubt about it, and they already got good news, I guess you could say, in Tim Williams making his determination to come back. Ryan Anderson's coming back. Man, when you look at Eddie Jackson coming back, it's a lot of production on the defensive side of the ball, and that was the biggest concern going into all of this, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And then two, he hasn't said anything on Twitter essentially that I'm definitely coming back, but Reuben Foster also.
Right.
That could be the heart and soul of the defense next year. If you have all those guys back, you're not going to have that much of a drop-off.
No, and it's a big-time need for Reuben to come back, because Sean Dion Hamilton played a lot this year, but if you lose Reuben, I'm sure Keith Holcomb's going to be a good player, and he's going to have to step up regardless. Right. But, man, this is a chance for you to really have a quarterback type coming back to go along with Eddie Jackson on the back end. If Jonathan Allen does come back, then you got a leader type up there to go along with Dalvin Tomlinson. You feel really good about all three levels. Again, we still need to wait this thing out, right. Probably proceed with caution if I were a UA fan in terms of the guys that we've talked about with Allen and O.J. Howard, Reuben Foster perhaps. So, but right now, no news is good news from those guys, and that's kind of the way you want it to stay, because in the past there have been guys that have not been a part of that press conference, and then in the days after announced that they were coming out. So we'll wait and see. But right now, things look good. Now, when you look at specific areas like the defensive line, we just touched on it with Tomlinson and also Allen, should he come back. But the departures of Reed and Robinson, some other guys that are going to have to step forward.
Yeah, and people forget too that DJ Petway and Darren Lake are going to be gone too. But I mean that really makes room for guys that Alabama fans have been waiting for what seems like forever to step on the field, and Deshaun Hand and guys like that. I think you won't see the complete dominance and depth that we saw this year. I mean that's kind of like a once in a generation thing.
Yeah, that's the exception. That's not the rule.
But exactly. But I mean I think they'll be in pretty good hands.
Yeah, they should, and Deshaun Hand showed some really good things. And we talked about the other outside linebackers. Well, Rashawn Evans was a real standout in that game against Clemson. So depth is a good thing, especially when you start losing guys like Alabama is in that front seven. In the secondary, you lose Cyrus Jones. Jackson coming back is huge. You lose Geno Matthias-Smith, but another place where you feel like you played a lot of young guys this year, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Ronnie Harrison, should be ready to step up into even bigger roles, you would think.
And then I think too, the big question mark is what happens with Tony Brown.
Yeah.
He can step into multiple positions in the secondary, whether it be corner, star, or safety. So I think that's another thing. If they can get him back in the fold and get his head on straight, I think Alabama fans have to be ecstatic.
Kendall Sheffield, a redshirt.
Yeah.
I've heard good things about, maybe to keep an eye on at that corner spot. So
Deontay Thompson.
Yeah, Deontay Thompson. There's quality numbers back there. Sean Burgess, Becker played some special teams this year. Talk about a make or break spring coming up. Hootie Jones. I mean, it's a fork in the road type of spring for guys each and every year. But on that back end, there's a few guys that definitely need to make it happen this time around. Anything else as we go into holding mode now for the next few days, kind of waiting on these other guys to finalize their decisions?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the defense and how it can essentially reload. I think the running back position takes a big blow. You lose Derek and Kenyon, and I mean, everybody's really excited about Bo. I mean, talking to the players, you hear nothing but good things, but he doesn't have that experience under his belt like these guys had coming in. So I think that's one of the things that's going to be interesting to watch in the spring and in the offseason, the fall camp, to see how he and Damian and then who else ever comes in, how they step up.
Yeah, and with Bo, it's about health too. He's done ACLs in each knee since 10th grade, but it's been pretty healthy, it seems like, so far. So good here, and keeping him 100% would be great, because I do think physically, you see it. I mean, everybody sees it. It's there. It's just a matter of keeping him on the field and keeping him in the right frame of mind. So with that, I guess it's pretty much almost spring sports. We still got men's basketball. How about the win over South Carolina?
Yeah, it was a big win. I know gymnastics is at home tonight.
Yeah, so. Gymnastics with Mizzou right here in Coleman Coliseum tonight, and a big one for the men's basketball team at Vanderbilt tomorrow evening up there, and not an easy place to play. Would be huge to get a road win after the road loss to Ole Miss to start conference play, but got to be a lot of confidence for Avery Johnson's team right now, especially with Riley Norris going off like he did against USC.
Yeah, I mean, this is where you want to start getting a roll into SEC play. You start off with that brutal 3-game stretch, and Vandy's not a let-up by any means, but it's not the...
You could steal one here.
Exactly. This is where you don't have those 3 games where it feels like back-to-back-to-back days. So this is definitely where you want to try to start a winning streak if you're Alabama.
Not coming off the Thursday game.
Yeah.
You don't think that extra day means a lot. You're kidding yourself. It's huge in basketball. So should be a lot of fun to watch, and we'll certainly keep you up to speed on everything Crimson Tide related right here on BamaOnline.com. So for Charlie Potter, I'm Travis Reier. Keep it right here on BOL for more coverage of Crimson Tide athletics.